Bold for Christ YouTube channel here. I want to take a minute and talk a little bit more about Rueben Israel. Been thinking about it a little bit. Because, when you talk about somebody who's passed away, you want to really make sure you're not bearing false witness. You want to really make sure that, you're not judging this person's soul. We witness people in sin a lot, and we tell them, hey, you're heading to hell. People tell us they're sinners. We say, hey, you're heading to hell. One thing I try not to ever do is say, you're going to hell, because, that's basically a curse in a sense. I'm cursing them to hell. And I'd rather just say, hey, you're on the path to hell. You're heading there. And you need to repent of your sin, or you may end up in hell. So, the same thing goes here with Rueben Israel. And I'm not saying anything now that I haven't said while he was alive. But I'm not going to judge and say he's in hell or he's going to hell like I've heard some other people say, which is a very, very dangerous thing to do. So anyways, but I'm just going to say some things that he did, right? Some things that I witnessed. Now, had I known he would be dead soon, I probably would have marked these videos and actually show it to you for yourself. You can take my word for it or not, and I don't really care. But these are things I've witnessed him say. He called himself Crazy Uncle Rueben. That's not the end of the world, but we got to be careful. When somebody says something about themselves, if I tell you, hey, I'm a bad guy, ha ha ha, and I'm joking, no, you need to heed that advice. You need to really listen to that and say, he said he was a bad guy, right? So if somebody calls himself Crazy Uncle Rueben, you really need to heed that advice, regardless if they said it in jest or they were joking. The fact is they said it, okay? So you need to heed that advice, but that's not that big a deal, okay? He might not have meant anything by it. But I did hear Rueben Israel, he had some blog talk thing he was doing on the internet. I don't know if he was still doing that until he died. I would leave comments on there, and they would blackball me from there. They would censor me. I would talk about how Rueben Israel promoted a known pagan holiday, a holiday he admitted was pagan, and he promoted it. And so they would just silence me, and where none of my comments would go through on the chat. So I just quit listening. So I don't know if he still had that up to the point he died. But one thing I did hear Rueben Israel say on that was he justified the murder of George Floyd. A man, okay, I don't care what color badge he had on, what color uniform he had on, he was a man, had his knee on the back of the neck of another man, okay? And the man on the ground was saying, I can't breathe. And it made no difference to the man whose knee was on his neck. He was saying, I can't breathe, and it made no difference. The man with a uniform on mercilessly killed George Floyd. I think his name was Derek Chauvin. I heard with my own ears, I saw with my own eyes, Rueben Israel on his blog justify the murderer, okay? Another thing, did we ever see Rueben Israel ever once preach against the sin of police officers? Now, we all know police officers sin. We all have seen it. We've seen countless videos of police officers sinning, beating people down, hurting people, harming people, abusive men. We've seen it. Did he ever once stand up against the sin of a police officer? Why not? Ask yourself that question. Why not? Why was Rueben Israel so pro-police officer? Why was he so back the blue? Ask your question that. He never once condemned, that I ever see. If you've seen it, let me know. I will happily make a public apology on behalf of Rueben Israel. I've never seen any instance of Rueben Israel rebuking the sin of a police officer. I've never seen him in front of a police station with his banners telling the police officers